I'm Virginia Gellerman. I'm a geologist, a research geologist with the Idaho Geological Survey, and I'm based in their one-person branch office in Boise. My background is economic geology, and before I came to Idaho, I spent about 10 years in the mineral exploration industry in the western U.S. Idaho has a rich mining history dating back to the mid-1860s. We have two what we consider world-class mining districts in the state. One is the Coeur d'Alene district in northern Idaho, which is one of the top 3 silver-producing districts in the world. We've produced over 1.2 billion ounces of silver up there. The other is the Idaho Phosphate Reserve in southeastern Idaho, where we still have 3 large active mines going and quite a number of years of resources left. In addition, there's a number of other both precious and base metal districts around the state, long history of mining in the state, and exploration that varies depending on global issues. When metal prices are good, everybody starts looking for additional mines, whether metals or industrial minerals. And we do see an upturn in activity. In the last couple of years, I'd say we've probably expanded the number of exploration projects. Compared to what it was like in the mid-90s, it's probably a factor of 10. And we have some pretty good-sized projects going on right now. We do have an established process for permitting both on state and federal lands. And, it is something that, while not easy, is being done. I've been here about 20 years, and so when I came there was sort of an upturn in exploration activity, and then there was a lengthy downturn, primarily due to prices. And then recently we've seen an upturn again due to prices, and I think what it's done is rejuvenated interest in a lot of historic districts that people had let go. And one of the things I've really been impressed with companies the last few years is they're going back in with a much bigger toolbox. They're really trying to put the property positions together for the district as a whole, to use geologic mapping. Some of the new geophysical techniques that we have now are proving to be quite useful, and going back to some of the more classic geologic techniques. So I'd have to say persistence. We also do have, admittedly, a lot of areas that are withdrawn due to wilderness areas and the such, or sensitive recreation areas, and I think companies do need to be cognizant of that and understand that there are a number of folks with strong environmental ties in the state, and companies should be upfront and engage with other stakeholders as soon as possible once they get serious about an exploration prospect. So openness and pursuing geologic opportunities, but also not ignoring the environmental constraints, I think would be very helpful.
My name is Don Dietrich. I am the director of the Idaho Department of Commerce, and in that role, we're responsible for international trade, all of our economic development, recruitment activities, and tourism. And so those are the primary factors. I come from the private sector, spent 25 years considerably involved on the international trade side. And so I apply that background knowledge pretty aggressively to what we do here. We absolutely embrace international trade. We embrace foreign direct investment. We've got considerable international operations around the world. We're continually pursuing business in that light, and we're very accepting and embrace that business. We are here to market and support all of our businesses across the state, and clearly mining and mineral extraction has got a long history. We've got a great heritage in that regard, and we are obviously, that falls under the same umbrella, and so we're here to support all of those businesses that partake in in activities here in the state. Last year, for example, mining contributed just under $1 billion to our gross domestic product, and that's about 1.6% of our overall GDP. So it plays an important role. It has played an important role, is playing an important role, and certainly we foresee it playing an important role going forward. Number one, we've got the minerals. We've got a great cost structure in which to operate. We've got the personnel that are familiar with mining operations, and so that's a critical component, obviously, in doing mining businesses. I think more importantly, though, we've got communities that embrace and understand the natural resource businesses, and so they are clearly supportive of those businesses, and it doesn't hurt to have a supportive government as well. I would say this, and this really applies to businesses across the board. When a business comes in, if they are community-minded, if they're willing to play by the rules, you've got communities that will wholeheartedly support them and embrace them, and you've got a government that will do the same.
My name is Eric Wilson. I'm the Minerals Program Manager for the Idaho Department of Lands. I've been with the department for 17 years now. And I'm currently in charge of the statewide regulatory programs and also the statewide leasing programs for the Department of Lands. That includes all of our minerals and oil and gas and geothermal programs. We actually have two different missions. Our primary mission, of course, is the generation of revenue through the state's endowment lands, and that provides revenue for the school children and other state institutions. And then secondarily, our mission is to safeguard Idaho's resources in mining programs and also timber and other avenues. We have a pretty good relationship with mining companies in the state of Idaho. They all know what the regulations are. We've been in this business for quite a few years. In 1972, they passed the Surface Mining Act, and actually dredge and placer mining has been regulated since the 1950s. So we have a pretty long history of regulating the mining community, and they're pretty comfortable with our approach. And since the 1980s, we've had an interagency program so that we go through the permitting process, and the mining companies submit one plan, and then that plan is reviewed by all the agencies, and then they go through a review process, and everybody approves the same plan. And that works really well for the mining companies because they only have one set of plans they have to abide by. A lot of history with mining in Idaho, from Silver Valley up in the north, which is still active, and even down in central Idaho and southern Idaho. There's a lot of companies that are in tune with their needs, from the engineering and environmental companies through construction companies that know what types of things are needed to get a mine done and to get it operating and on track. Start the permitting process early. It can never be too early to start, and it just lets the agencies know exactly what's needed, and they'll often tell the companies, you know, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? There's these other permits you may need. Again, working with Water Resources, their dam safety program, DEQ, with their cyanide permitting regulations. We work in concert with those other agencies, and we all know what the others' requirements are. So that's really important for identifying those permit needs up front so that the companies have plenty of time to get all their permitting completed.